everybody. Welcome to She the Mighty, where we train, finance, and mentor female entrepreneurs. I'm Michelle Smith,
And I'm Kylie Martin.
and this is What Do You Want to Talk About?
Another episode of What Do You Want to Talk About? I love it. I love being here. I so want to talk about something that everybody faces. And so I think it's really worth a conversation. And that is, how do you navigate this idea of business and personal? And I know this conversation is going to go in like a trillion different ways. So just to start off with that footing, how do you navigate that idea?
Okay. I used to get asked this question all the time. And so this is throwing it back to when I first opened my first company in my very early 20s and was working with a large group of very young people that were running their first businesses for the first time. And the constant would be persistent. How do you separate business versus personal? And I remember as a young business person that this was a tricky thing to navigate. It was really trying to identify which parts of the relationship was I going to allow to exist and which ones not to. Now, most of the advice at the time was that there was a rigid hard line. There were personal relationships and there are business relationships, and there are a different set of instructions and behaviors that are allowed to exist in each of those independently. Well, that didn't resonate with me. I absolutely struggled with that. I remember feeling as though I was putting on my business hat, which is kind of the mentoring that I received or had access to put on my business hat, to be clinical, to take all of the emotion out of it, and to execute and make decisions like specifically through logic. Now, I don't know that that's the most popular advice that still exists today, but I do think that those threads still are out there. And so the the deepest, most accurate way that I can answer that question is that my business has always been personal to me. It is personal to me for us to succeed. It is personal to me who I choose to work with and have as a partnership or team and how we work together. So the way that I learned how to navigate that was to take off the need for it to be a business hat or a personal hat, and instead it became this varying degree of access. So there's a relationship access, and there's relationships of varying types that go along this accessibility. And there it goes from distant to intimate.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, learning to be able to navigate each individual relationship with that as the way that we set up the permissions in the way that we interact and commune with each other, that was something that was much more natural and more authentic for me. So I do think that there's still different things that you need to take into consideration when you're navigating this, but that was the biggest sigh of relief that I experienced when I learned to, instead of having to have this very clinical set of behaviors for people that I work with, and then this completely different set of behaviors for people that I have in my personal life, that felt as though I was being two different people, and it made it very, very complicated. And I believe it damaged my relationships at the beginning when I was learning to build professional relationships, but I didn't allow them to have any access to kind of like the humanity, of who Michelle really was.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I think that's so fascinating, especially coming from someone like you who had to hire, ran a company, had to manage people. But I agree with you, and I've said it a lot as well. The whole, well, if you're an entrepreneur, your business is personal. And I think what I hate about the phrase, well, this is personal and this is business, is that it actually kind of gave people permission to be assholes and
Uh-huh.
say, oh, it's just business.
100%. 100%. So, it's fascinating as well. I've seen so many, I mean, we're talking in the very, very high hundreds, and that's probably a modest number. That is a modest number of people learning how to navigate this, right? Learning how to navigate as a supervisor, being in a leadership role, how they would coach other people, and the components that would trip them up in those relationships. And 90% of the time or more, it was because they were posturing
Yeah.
something in the relationship. It wasn't something that was simply authentic in the relationship. And there's more damage that can be done when people feel as though you are connecting through strategy as opposed to really genuinely looking to foster a connection that simply has the right expectations and boundaries set up so
Right.
that it can be allowed to flourish and become the best relationship of its kind that it can become, right?
Yeah,
So
and
that
I think that's such a key to Michelle. Like because as a leader, you need to be respected and there needs to be boundaries. But I love that you brought the humanity piece into it. Like you're still a person connecting on personal levels with the people that are either reporting to you, doing a job for you, that there's expectations of them on a level that is very professional.
mhm.
So maybe you could just walk us through, like in your experience with what you saw and with what you did, like what are some components that you would be able to pass on to everybody else who's in the boat of, hey, I like these people that I'm working with, and maybe they're even friends, but I am running a business with serious consequences to actions, and how does one sort of think about what they can really be mindful of?
Yeah. Okay, so I think that the most important things to set up at the beginning of any of these relationships is to set very, very clear boundaries. And boundaries can be whatever they feel relevant to you. There's not this very specific number of them. Some people will feel that they need to get extremely explicit into all of the fine details. The important thing is to make sure that boundaries are clearly set. And what that might mean is if you are taking a relationship that used to be a personal relationship and now you're going to be working together, then one of the boundaries and the clear expectations that you can set is what your actual expectations are. So if my expectations are that we're going to work together and maybe there's a specific set of hours that we are committing that we're going to be engaged in working, that everybody is ready to go and is already in business mode between these hours, and that this is going to be the focus, to set an expectation that it's not okay that you roll in an hour late because we're bros, and that I'm going to be okay with that. So again, it's a very simple example, but setting the clear expectations and the boundaries around what is permissible and what's not permissible, right?
Mhm.
Maybe during this certain amount of time, we're not going to discuss anything out in our personal lives. We're really going to focus and make sure that we're keeping the conversation towards achieving these outcomes and on all of the takeaways and items that we're going to have to work on together. Now, again, very remedial example, but
Mhm.
it's really important simply to set clear expectations and clear boundaries on what's okay and what's not okay. And I want to preface that with, we used to have this saying way back in my early days in that sales world. We used to have this saying that we would talk to our entire team of sales reps before we went to a large, really high class function where we were going to the holiday party or, something of that nature, where it was a night of celebration and it was really exciting. And where they were going to get an opportunity to get to meet some of the other people that could be mentors for them, and they were going to meet other people who had achieved a certain amount of success. So it was like a networking type of an event where they were going to get this opportunity. Now, dealing with such young entrepreneurs, you can imagine that the experience level of being in an environment like this and capitalizing on those opportunities properly was fairly low. And once they had a cocktail or two in them, that their desire to go up and straight meet the mentor or meet the person that they've always wanted to meet and then start to have a conversation, I mean, hilarity ensued, right? In such large ways. So to be able to have a conversation ahead of time, we used to have a conversation that was called "Don't be that guy." Don't be that guy that has a little too much to drink in this setting and then damages relationships, shows up in a way that shows a lack of professionalism, a lack of awareness, and maybe you're not showing yourself to be super dependable in the way that you operate inside of a business environment. Now, I can hear some people that are listening to this that might be shaking their head and thinking, well, if it's a social engagement and it's a party, then any and all behaviors should be acceptable.
Mm-mm.
Right. So, I mean,
You
that the same argument that is that could say that any type of behavior is allowed when you are cutting loose, and to think that that doesn't have implications on people's perspectives of you, like you can't unsee the things that you
no,
see.
and I would even say it doesn't even apply to just work parties.
That's right.
Any party you go to, you
That's
don't
right.
want to be that guy.
That's right. That's right.
'Cause that
That's
doesn't
right.
go
So,
away very easily. It's a lasting effect, and to your point, there's consequences to who you're perceived to be if you allow yourself to. Now, we've all done maybe some things we regret, and maybe we've had one too many cocktails, but
oh gosh.
overall, I totally know what you're saying, and I think it's what a great message for the sales team.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I totally agree with you, and I think that it's paramount in today's world that I know that people have a larger consciousness around what it is that they record, or what it is that they capture, or what it is that they text or they type or they send, or any of these things, because of the ability for that to be referenced and used back if it's taken in the right context or the wrong context, and that there is a real there's a real concern for ensuring that you are not publishing or having material published about you that is something that you would not prefer to see published.
Hmm.
That said, to your point, even when you're showing up, if it's one of these, okay, everybody puts their phone in the basket and there's no recording devices allowed inside, so what stays here, that each individual person and the relationship that you have and the experience that you have with them, they're still going to remember
Yeah,
what those interactions were like. And, one of the small points I want to make on this is that people, I'm sure everyone listening to this has heard this, that people may not remember what you've said, but they'll remember how you made them feel.
yeah.
And when it comes to any relationship, when you're in the same container of space with people, if someone comes and makes a bid to have an attempt to talk to you, whether you have time in that moment or not, the paramount component in the way that you communicate with anyone that you'd like to have a good relationship with over the balance of time is that all in any communication is handled with extreme respect,
Hmm.
that it is not something where you can blow someone off because you're here and you're doing something and, oh no, I don't have time for you, right? Those elements of categorizing the levels of importance that you place on the other people that are in the world around you, those are things that people never forget. They will trust that more than they'll trust what you're saying when you want something from people. And in the landscape of entrepreneurship, you never know where your next connection is going to come from. You
So,
never know
so
who
true.
is connected to who is connected to who, and the stories that they'll regale about either the way that you made them feel important and valued and respected, or the way you made them feel the opposite of those things.
So
And
correct me if I'm wrong. What I'm hearing you say, I think, is you're talking about character big time, like people's character flaws. And so I want to know, like, boundaries to your people are important, but how much emphasis is put on actually making sure that you've done the vetting so the right people are there, because I feel like teaching people character behavior and teaching people, there, hiring the right people is the best start to all of that.
oh, of course, of course. And you're right. So character and things of that nature, we're really kind of like rolling back the time that these were things that hopefully parents had some influence over, right? Because
Yeah,
people's character
follow
and the way
doctrine.
that they choose to operate and the set of values that they choose to show up in the world with, these in large part are things that have already been created, and they more become revealed. Some people have an awareness into what they are, some people don't. They simply tout the line of I am who I am, and that's just the way that it is. And They're unaware of if they have a set of values that is working in contradiction to the way that they want to show up in the world. So for anyone who doesn't really have sight into their values, then we've got an incredible values exercise that you can download, visit the website and get access to it for free. um, but some of the things that we used to look for when we were engaging in professional relationships were the most basic of requirements. They were, did they show up with a positive energy and a positive attitude and a student mindset towards what they were going to need to learn to become a productive part of this team?
Hmm.
Did they show up with the kind of work ethic that we were looking for in order to ensure that all of us were pacing at the same pace to achieve the goals that we set together? And when it came to the skill set that they had, as long as they had some of the skills that would be required, we were even prepared to train up their skills to get them to the production level that we needed them to be at to perform in their role.
Mm.
Because we were having a conversation about this the other day as well. This is an overlap that oftentimes throughout people's careers or their relationship with different business partners, their title might change, but their role rarely does. And their role is to execute and be excellent at what it is that they have been contracted to deliver on. And their role is to do that in a leadership capacity. Their role is to do that in a way that models the behavior for other people and how they'll also be able to succeed. I mean, we could unpack and pull, threads into this diagnostic kind of approach to it, but I think the point that you were getting at is that at the onset of a relationship, the things that are the most non-negotiable and the deal breakers in our experience were the things like showing up with the wrong type of energy and having the wrong values and not having the work ethic and having a more of a negative mindset towards the success of the team, being disrespectful in any way to the team members or the people that were at play. And so at the beginning of a relationship, I know that what is in my natural now, my natural set of steps of progress is that at the very beginning of the relationship, the boundary is set fairly far on that distance scale. And as we start to work together, the permissions will then start to be altered based upon the level of trust that has been built, the level of dependability that has been built, the amount of deliverables that are always delivered on time, how countable they can be to ensure that the goals that we set are hit, or there's been a communication in enough lead time for us to recalibrate those goals. They're not hiding in a silo, hoping they get it done on time, and then letting us know last minute that they're going to, completely crap the bed. And we find out last minute. So all of these things, they go into the success of any professional relationship. It's the success of any relationship. And as the relationship grows, the personal relationship naturally grows as a
Yeah,
component of the business
absolutely.
relationship also being successful.
Yeah, and I hear how important communication becomes in all of this. And so in your life today, with all of the women that you're working with, and being witness to their businesses and what they've got going on for themselves right now, how would you, and a lot of them are friends, right? That's just the nature of the community being
They
built.
become friends. Yeah,
Yeah.
they
So
they
so
become
how
friends.
important is it really direct communication that you would say is the key to some of those ways of also still maintaining that business personal relationship now?
Yeah, I think that all of the above are paramount. So I think clear communication is absolutely required. I think clear expectations is required. I think making sure that you understand if there are any deliverables that either of you are counting on the other for, that those again are clearly communicated, there are clear goals around it, and it is clearly understood how each person is expected to show up. Now,
Mm.
in a relationship that doesn't have a component of business to it, there's of course so much more flex because there is no outcome that we're looking to achieve together. We enjoy our time with each other. We enjoy the relationship. We enjoy the friendship. We enjoy those components. That's fantastic. But it's when there are deliverables or there is an overlay of business as well that in order to not damage both components of the relationship, then absolutely clear communication is required. Business is a relationship that involves the outcome of producing money. So that is something that is not to be taken lightly.
Yeah, that's
And
the differentiator, isn't it? When there's something really tied to it that is meaningful and that is important. I love all of that, and uh, I guess sometimes you can be disappointed too in the way someone behaves or in what you see, and have to handle that on in that relationship, or communicating that, hey, that wasn't up to expectation, or that wasn't, you could do better, and here's how, and handling it with grace, as we've seen, where it's like, hey, are you aware that maybe you're doing this, or are you aware that maybe this situation could have been handled better, or are you aware that here's where I come from? It's I feel like this communicative dance that we do with people that we work with is tricky sometimes.
yeah, it can be tricky. It can be tricky a lot of the time, particularly if deliverables get missed.
Hmm.
And so that's the biggest key area that I see where problems will start to erupt inside of a personal relationship. And then, uh, as far as women go, more so than men, women don't like to address problems. Women
Right,
don't
they're
like to.
non-confrontational often, yes.
That's right. They
Yeah,
don't like to have one of those conversations if it means that we're going to have to address the elephant in the room, or we're going to have to talk about something that isn't being successfully delivered. And so, as opposed to doing it, they avoid those conversations. And then when they're avoiding those conversations, you can see the tension, you can feel it show up immediately. And what they'll sometimes choose to do is to continue to allow that to fester and just not say anything, and then they'll wait until past the like alarm bell deadline is ringing and then attempt to get into a conversation. But at this point, as opposed to finding out early on, let's role play an example where, let's say somebody has got a contract with us, they're working on delivering something and they miss their first delivery date. And as opposed to getting into a conversation and saying, hey, how's it going, what's happening, tell me what you think is going on, okay, so we missed the delivery date, what occurred,
what happened, yeah. Yeah,
what can we do in order to ensure that this doesn't repeat,
yes.
how can we
Versus the
correct
blame
this.
game, right? Versus, yeah, yeah,
Right, but to get into a conversation,
yeah,
is there anything that you weren't getting from us? Was there
yes,
something that wasn't clear? Did you not have access to something? Did we need to revisit, or was there a decision that wasn't made in time? Where can we have influence over the outcome and
yeah,
have a human to human conversation?
yeah.
Right, because
I
I
love
mean,
that.
how many people are never going to miss a deliverable in their entire career? So, yes, I'm a fan of people making sure that they do deliver,
Yeah,
but I don't think that the smart move at the very beginning is to go, okay, well, you missed the deadline. So, and then you give people a threatening, well,
right,
if you do it again, then you're going to be out of here. And they damage the relationship, right? So,
right. And then
I
there's
mean,
only room to defend. The person has to defend why they missed the deadline, and then it gets really, really, really dicey for sure.
yes,
As
yes. Or
opposed to
if
more
it's
of
a,
an open-hearted, questioning conversation around what happened for you, so that I
yes,
so that I understand what happened for you. Because
yes.
no
And
one
it's,
wants to miss the deadline, right?
no, that's right. That's right. And in most cases, they're beating themselves up,
Yeah.
like an incredible amount. Um, and the damage to a relationship is something that is persistent, where it can be much more easy to correct. So I really do believe in a very strong leadership role when you're developing business relationships with people, where you're taking on part of the accountability to foster and develop the team that you're working with,
Yeah.
and to have them learn how to work more successfully with you. And that means, as the person who's leading that team, that you've got to not be afraid of having any conversation. And when you
Yes.
have those conversations, it's not to lay blame, it's
Yeah.
to uncover the actuality, it's to uncover the truth, it's to figure out how to find a better strategy going forward, how to eliminate some of the challenges, how to present better solutions. Maybe we need to invest in you, and maybe it would be better if we invested in getting a better tool so that you have better equipment so that we can achieve these outcomes better. I mean, The number one
Right.
reason that people leave contracts or jobs is not because of money. It's because they haven't felt respected or rewarded or properly invested in. And what an incredible opportunity it is when someone's about to miss a deadline and they're so fearful for you to have a conversation and say, hey, before the deadline
I
comes,
see you.
like
I see you.
do the check-in
Yeah.
before the deadline. Be like,
Yeah.
how's it
Yeah.
going? Are we
Yep.
on track? Is there anything
Yep.
you need from me? Do you think we're going to hit it? Like, I mean, you can be more direct in your conversing. My point being to have a environment where people feel that they can succeed with you. That
Yes.
it's not just simply, I'm here to assign this specific role and job for you to do, and then you need to get it done. And if you don't, then there's lots of other people lined up behind you that would like that job, and don't test me.
I love that you brought that up too, because when leaders really truly look at business from a collective perspective of it takes a ship, it takes a village, it's you need good people that know how to do good work, and there is a flow of check in, making sure that everything's driving. I love all of that. Um, and I will say, it's a beautiful thing to work with friends. It really, really is. And so, just to say to all of our listeners, not to be afraid of it, right? Like, oh, I'll avoid all of this if all of my people in business that I work with are strangers and I don't hang out with them and I don't have personal relationships. Actually, it's way better to have people you really enjoyed your life working with you. It's a
Mhm.
beautiful, beautiful thing. So I just wanted to sort of end on that amazing note of like, the relationships they're wonderful things to have. That robust, wonderful relationships are amazing to have in your life.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The collaborations that I've had over my business career, working with people that are friends and that are trusted associates and partners in the endeavors together, it is such a funner. That's the exact right word to use.
Funner.
It's such a funner place to be
Absolutely.
than
Yep.
to pursue climbing the mountain all by yourself, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, think about any experience that we have in our lifetimes and the people that they climb these incredible mountains, to use that exact example, and you get to the top and you get to the vista and oh my gosh, and so incredible. And the
Crickets.
biggest
Where are
thing
the
that you're
people?
looking, yeah, the
Yeah.
biggest thing that you're looking to do is to share and ruminate on that story with the people you experienced it with
Yes.
after the fact. And so that's no different than experiencing anything in life. And so building a business, achieving different milestones together, being able to tackle different projects, create solutions, endeavor to get into this type of an industry. What would happen if we took this idea? How many women do you know? How many women's evenings, how many girls' nights, how many evenings out have ended up somehow getting into this threaded conversation of, oh, that would be such an amazing business idea. We should do that. We should totally do that
All the time.
all the time. And
Yeah.
the number of ideas. Now, I'm not saying that it's smart to get into business with every single one of those people without, I mean, like, come on, right? Like, there's
But
there's
that's the
there's all kinds.
spirit of what's happening with those right people.
Well, that's right. That's
Mm.
right. And so when you're finding people that are responsible, it's my experience that your business relationships can be unbelievably successful if you allow there to also be part of your personal involvement in their success as well. Not to cripple you, but to recognize that relationships between people, the first second that I experience you as the very moment of inception to the very last second that I experience you, every single second in between that is the container of our relationship. Whether we were doing something together to go down the business path and earn revenue or not, the relationship is still the relationship. So again, I don't know that you can completely separate them and still be a human that is feeling. And I don't know that you have to.
Oh,
And
I don't know you'd want to is the point too, right? Like everything we've been saying, it's like it's so rich. So I love it, Michelle. Thank you for all of your wisdom on that topic. What a great conversation. And if you want to know what we're talking about next week, you'll have to tune in, subscribe below, give us a like, shoot us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. And yeah, we'll see you next time.
thanks for listening.